Wuthering Waves provides the player with an insane amount of power. You can run up walls, survive enormous falls, and summon dragons. But the most powerful thing you can do in game is actually dodge, and this is because dodging gives you momentary immunity to all incoming damage sources, and you can dodge many times in a row. But there are trade-offs to this because timing your dodges perfectly will reward you with extra resources and options, and poorly timed dodges will leave you vulnerable and out of resources. So in this video, I'm going to explain and show all the mechanics involved with dodging and how to make the best use of them so that the only thing that you have an excuse for is your echo rolls. Dodging is tied to the sprint action. Sprinting, along with other actions such as heavy attacks, aerial attacks, and gliding or climbing, will cost you stamina. When using the sprint key, usually shift or right mouse button, there's an animation for about 1/2 of a second afterwards where if any attack would hit you, you will enter into a dodge animation for another 1/2 a second. During this animation, you avoid any incoming attacks, and everything enters into slow motion very briefly. This gives you a bit more time to realize the dodge succeeded and decide your next action. If you sprint too early and you get hit after the animation trigger window ends, you'll lose that dodge and still get hit. But if you time the dodge correctly, you get refunded your stamina and get an evade frame. You can also sprint 2 times in a row to get a longer duration to potentially trigger your dodge, which gives you a little bit more of a buffer for timing your dodges. And while this is nice, it has some trade-offs. It takes twice as much stamina to use 2 dodge attempts instead of timing 1 perfectly. Also, you cannot triple sprint. After a double, you need to wait another second to be able to attempt to dodge again. This means you're vulnerable to attacks during this time, and when it's really important to dodge a specific attack, mistiming a dodge can result in your character being knocked out. Now, this is easier said than done when there are tons of animations flying around and you're watching your skill bar to see the cooldowns instead of the boss who's doing some insane attack combo. A lot of your dodge timing is going to come from understanding and getting experience with your characters, so you can play them instinctively and use the rest of your brain power to react, or learning the boss attack patterns so you can expect what to do rather than reacting at the last second. But on top of all that, I'm going to show you how to optimize the way you dodge so you can account for mistakes or situations where you're not sure exactly what to do. So first of all, never spam your sprint key as fast as possible to double dodge attempt. This is because you will cancel your last sprint to do the next, and since you can only do this twice in a row, you'll be limiting how long you have to trigger your dodge. I know that most of the time when I die, it's because I'm panic dodging and hitting the key really hard multiple times in a row. This is just going to nuke your stamina bar and punish you when your timing is off. What you should do instead is space out your dodges perfectly. If you look up a metronome and set it to 120 beats per minute, that's 2 beats per second or once every 1/2 of a second, which is about the duration of your sprint animation. If you dodge twice in a row at the rhythm of 120 BPM, you will still trigger a double dodge, but if you do the same thing at 110 BPM, you can just keep dodging non-stop. That means you'll maximize the time between your first and second dodge if you do it at 120 BPM, giving you the most value out of your dodges, even if there's a little bit of a window of vulnerability in between them. Now, I don't mean to literally put on a metronome while you're fighting a boss, or that you need to have a perfect sense of time. Mostly you just want to get some muscle memory for spacing out your dodges instead of panic spamming them instantly. The better you get at this, the more dodges you'll trigger, and the more you'll slow down time, which will give you more time to react and dodge the next mechanic, and the more you'll refund your stamina. Also, whenever you successfully trigger your dodge, you reset the cooldown on your dodge attempt. Even if you double cast, as long as the second one triggers your dodge, you can immediately dodge again afterwards, meaning you can infinitely dodge so long as there are attacks constantly coming at you and you have the right timing for your dodge. But it gets even better than that. After you successfully dodge, you can perform a counterattack by pressing the basic attack key or left mouse button. These attacks usually hit pretty hard on every character, but more importantly, some characters will have an evade frame on their dodge counters, meaning you can dodge 2 attacks in a row with a dodge and then a dodge counter. And you can once again do this endlessly as long as you have the timing right. And if you're thinking dodges are overpowered in this moment, then let me tell you, it goes even further. Successful dodges also give you concerto energy to perform your character swapping intro and outro skills. So if you are ever in a situation where there's only 2 things you can do, which are dodge and attack, or stand still in a completely safe area, you might want to put yourself in harm's way to trigger more dodges and get more concerto energy to progress your team swapping rotation faster. So now we know that dodging gives you more damage through dodge counters and concerto energy. We want to ensure that we can trigger our dodges even when we might be safe otherwise. We often instinctively dodge away from an attack, but then you might sprint out of range of that attack, preventing the dodge from triggering. You would be safe, but you'd deny yourself the dodge counter and concerto energy. Depending on how aggressive the enemies are, you'll value that dodge trigger even more because you'll need the dodge cooldown reset to ensure you can dodge the next attack that comes at you. If you safely double sprint, you can still get hit by the next attack while you're on cooldown. So my point here is that you often want to dodge into an attack rather than away from it so that you ensure your dodge triggers, you get the dodge counter for even more evade frames and damage, and you can continue attacking, knowing that you're able to dodge again when needed. By optimizing your dodges like this, you can maximize your effectiveness in combat, and by combining the dodge and dodge counter mechanic with the evade frames from intro and outro skills, or even the evade frames from the resonance liberation skills, this will allow you to defeat bosses that could otherwise kill you in one hit. So if you found this video helpful in any way, then please like it. If you want more content or guides like this, subscribe and check the links in the description, and I will see you all next time.